You are now tuned in to Debt Free in IT. I'm your host, Mike. This podcast is for anyone looking to get into the IT field, whether you're just interested or you're looking for that career change, you come to the right place. Don't forget, like, subscribe. If you know someone that this may interest, please share it with them and tell them to share it with a friend. So, one of my favorite rappers, Jay-Z, has a rhyme that goes, kitchen table. That's where I honed my skills. Jazz made me believe the shit was real. That line stuck out to me a lot because one thing about the IT field is you need a way to hone your skills. In order to get good, how can I hone my skills? Yeah, there's the theory side of it where you're learning what's the OSI model. You're learning about IP addresses, subnet mask. You're learning about Linux. You're learning some Python. There's the theory part that you learn and you remember and it just stays with you. But how do you get that hands-on that skill set to where you stand apart from someone else? You know what I'm saying? Like it's to me it's all a competition. How do you get that? How do you get that animal instinct as if you was a football player on the field or a basketball player on the court? So that's what we're gonna cover today. So I'm gonna go over some examples, a couple of applications that you can use to get those skills and build your skills up. So let's get into it. So the first thing, uh, what I'm going to discuss is called, I refer to them as labs. So, labs is where you're able to use the actual equipment that would be in the IT field, like for networking, you'll be able to look at the actual switches and routers and configure them. And a lot of these applications that I'm about to mention, they're either simulators or emulators that emulates the actual equipment or the iOS. And the examples is going to look exactly the same as the real deal when you get out in your IT career. So it gives you that practice of knowing how to configure those devices, knowing how those devices act. So and some of these that I'm gonna name, they're real good with replicating that. Some of them actually requires the actual iOS that's on the devices. So, like I said, this is a good way to get those hands-on skills. And another thing with this is you can get as good as you want to, as good as your drive. So if you got that ambition, you got that drive. I know some folks that when they was trying to get to where they at now, they used to lab all the time. If I'm sure plenty of you may heard of Dewan Lightfoot. He has the channel Lab every day. So that's one person that I looked at to get motivation whenever I started studying to get back in the field myself. So, then a good example is I had a coworker I used to work with. He was real good. I was in the networking side, and he was real good. And I remember I used to ask him like, "Hey, how you get so good? How you know all this stuff so well?" And one thing he said was when he was trying to get to where he was then, he was labbing. Like he had, he went out and bought the actual equipment and set it up in his house. Where every night after he came home from his previous job or whatever, where he was labbing it up, and it showed. It showed, because he was good. He had a skill set that. You see a lot of people in networking, but then you see some great people in networking. So he was one of those people I consider to be great. But needless to say, everyone I done met along that path, they had some form of a lab where they actually went in on their own time, not someone making them. They went in on their own time and they honed their skills, so they used that kitchen table. That's where they honed their skills. So my first thing that I'm gonna mention this here is a free application. Um, I think it's free downloadable for anyone, or it used to be tied to the Cisco Networking Academy, but I think since then they have made it free for everyone. But it's called Packet Tracer. So Packet Tracer is an application that's downloaded, and once you open it up, it emulates and simulates the networking environment. So you're able to create your own networks by adding routers, switches, PCs. wireless controllers. There's a slew of other devices that you can add, servers. So you're able to add these, and then you're able to go in and configure them and get them to work on your network, get that connectivity. So you're able to go in and configure them, and this here it emulates the Cisco iOS very well. I always say, especially for those on the beginner level, maybe you're studying for your CCNA. Usually, packet tracer is all you need lab wise to be able to pass that CCNA. I think it'll get you prepared for it. You're able to do every lab that the CCNA may call for you to configure. So, like I said, packet tracer is a good example for that. Like I said, it's free, and also if you have went through the networking academy, then you most likely have used packet tracer. So it's used a lot in their courses where they have activities and packet tracers where the packet tracer may come pre-assembled the activity, and then you have the steps to go by and to do. So you can use this to learn because, like I said, it's going to step you by step, and also you can use it to test out your knowledge by just creating your own topology in packet tracer and going in and configuring it and seeing if you can get it working without any help. So packet tracer was my first one. The next one comes from Cisco also. They have a website called developer.cisco.com. This here is a website that goes to their sandbox, and it has a range of technologies that you can do labs in, which is ranging from IoT, Internet of Things, cloud, networking, data center, security, and I think there's a couple more that I may have left out. But like I said, this here is free also. As long as you get a Cisco an account, developer.cisco, as long as you create an account, you're able to log in. You're going into their sandbox. What the sandbox is pretty much like a playground for your IT equipment, your virtual devices. You can go in, reserve time, go in on the actual equipment, and you're able to do the different configurations on the devices. And also on that website, they have learning paths where you can go down different learning paths. If you're into the DevNet, which is the new cert that they have out, you're able to go down that path and learn how to configure those devices, and which involves a little bit of Python and Linux as well. So, like I said, that's another free option that's out there. My next option is free somewhat. Um, this may kind of I haven't ever used it. I've tried to use it, but it took so long for me to try to set it up. I didn't understand the setup, so I went ahead and bought something. So this here is on GNS3 and Even G. So I hear a lot of rave reviews about it. I know some people that have used it. I tried 2 years ago, couldn't never get it to work. But there's one thing that holds back a lot of people with this application is that for some of the devices, you need to have the actual iOSs for those devices. So, and as we all know, if you've been in the field, the only way to get those actual iOSs is you got to have some sort of agreement, or you got to be working for someone, working for a company where you have those iOSs available to you. So it's hard without having those connections to be able to get those iOSs for those devices legally. So, you find it on the web somewhere, most likely it's illegal. So that's the only reason why I've never went deep into trying to learn these two applications. But it's EvenG and GNS3. They're both free. But like I said, the hardest thing is just trying to get the images for those applications. But other than that, I hear a lot of good things about it. A lot of devices that you can configure. I even seen on YouTube where one guy had his whole network that he worked in, his whole topology, he had it configured in EvenG, because with tools like that, what you can do is when you get into networking and all that and different other security and all, you can as it comes up for your when you start getting projects on your job, and those projects, where you might have to make some configuration changes on your network, it's good to have a test environment. So a lot of people use these types of applications as a test environment where they may have everything set up and configured exactly the same inside of this application, so they can go in, make their change, and see how it's gonna affect the network. Then if everything works good there, then they may be a little bit more comfortable with making that same change on the actual network. So that's one way that is those these are used other than studying for your certification or whatnot. So even GNS3, like I said, very good applications, just extensive setup, and you must have to have a way to legally get the iOS images. So if you're finding value in this episode and you're listening on Apple Podcasts, please leave me a review. Let me know how I'm doing. You know, let your boy know what's up. All right, continuing on. So our next thing, we all know that the cloud has became a hot topic lately. Cloud and cybersecurity. Seems like that's the only two IT programs that you hear of. Cloud and cybersecurity. You look on the job market, all you see is cloud and cybersecurity. As true, a lot of companies are going over to the cloud, and there's a lot of hacking going on. So we need some cybersecurity engineers out there to combat some of that hacking that's going on. So my next thing is AWS. So they have their own cloud platform, and also they have a cloud training that you can go to on their website. So for this, they have a free version, but there's always a catch. So with the free version, you get the education, but you don't get the actual lab environment to go in and practice. So in order to get that actual lab environment, you have to end up paying something, and their cost is, I have it here in my notes, $29 a month or $299 a year. So, like I said, that's probably worth it if you can dig in on it and kind of complete the course and learn everything, because some of those cloud jobs that's out there now, some of those are six figures. Not saying that that's what you would get as an entry level, but still, a lot of the cloud jobs, they're highly a lot of people that know cloud is highly sought after of. So AWS cloud, that's one way to get some cloud experience. Another cloud service, you can't name AWS without naming Microsoft Azure. So they have Microsoft Azure's lab service. And for this here, it's a kind of different setup. So with this here, you pay for what you use. And when I looked on the website, the cost was like 0.01 cent, depending on how much you use. So, but the bad thing is when you leave out of that environment, you need to shut down the equipment, because if you don't shut down the equipment that you have up and running in the cloud, you're getting paid for it. So I can see where that can create a hefty bill for you to pay for it, because, like I said, if you forget and you finish with a lab, or you finish learning something and you just shut it down, you just close the page. Just closing the page don't mean the devices are shut down. So I can see that device been up and running until the next time you go in there. So if you think that can add up to a pretty good price tag. So, but as long as you shut it down, you may come out only paying $20 or whatever. So, but like I said, that is another highly skilled that's very sought after of, and I'm pretty sure you can probably get an entry level job with one of those certifications. My next one, going back to Cisco, as you can see, Cisco has a lot of stuff available. Not being one sided, but it's just what I found out there. And so they have what's called Cisco Modeling Labs, which also has been called Cisco Viral. This is $199 to $349, depending on the version that you get. I think the $199 version gives you like 20 nodes. That means like 20 devices in your lab that you can fire up and start configuring and working on. So, like I said, that's a good option, especially when you're after you hit that CCNA level and you set your mind on going after a higher level, such as a CCNP or something of that nature. And also, it has security devices that you can put in your topology. It has servers that you can put in there also. So it's very well rounded. Also, another one that I've forgot because I haven't had much experience with is VMware. They have the vSphere, and I'm sure they probably got some labs available. So if you're heading down trying to get your VCP, that may be something that you can go after also. And then last on my list I have is called Boson NetSim. So Boson's NetSim is one particular lab that I used way before when I was studying for my CCNP, which I fell off the track, haven't got it yet. So far, I only still have my Cisco CCNA, and I am ITQ certified with Cisco, which is a Cisco instructor trainer. So I have those two certs right now. My next one is probably going to be Cyber Ops. Then I'm going to try to tackle DevNet. But Boson, I used a lot of Boson stuff. I like them because, like I said, they're pretty good. I use one of the exam preps to study for the CCNA, and with Boson, they're a reputable company, so it's none of that black market stuff, none of that going on. And I've used their Net Labs. Actually, I have their NetSim. I have that for the CCNA, and I have it for the CCNP. So it has all the labs for the CCNA exam and all the ones for the CCNP. And I like it because while you're doing it, it kind of gives you a grade when you get through. And then it gives you a little check mark if you passed it for the lab. So when you're looking at all the labs, it's nice just seeing all green check marks going down. I haven't got into a lot of the CCNP labs on it, but it's a application that you download after you buy it from them. You download it, and then if they update it, it automatically updates for you. So you just download this one application, and it has all the labs available to you. You open it up, you use your login for it, and you're able to go in and complete it. So with Boston, most of their NetSim is like 179. So for the CCNA, it's like 179. Then the CCNP, which is broken up in two parts. You have the Encore and the ENARSI, I think. So those are 179 a piece also. But these are some applications that you could use to get your skill set up, to hone in your skills. Then you can be able to get in, go to that interview, blow them out the water, get your first job in IT, and then you can come back later on when you're making big money and throw me something. Give me a loan for helping you out. So that about wraps us up for today for this episode. So don't forget to follow me on IG and TikTok at Debt Free and IT. And if you have any questions or comments or topic suggestions, please email that to debtfreeandit@gmail.com. And I'll see you next week. All right, bye.